brief questions to start with, and maybe back to listening, but I don't want to hog the time. You mentioned, and you mentioned in your remarks, but only very briefly, that the IMF has an important role with respect to the lower income countries. Now, while you were at the fund as DMD, you of course were responsible for relations with the multilateral development banks, except the World Bank. As chairman of the development committee, of course, a joint committee of the bank and the fund, you've had substantial involvement with the joint issues. You say in your statement that the fund must also pay special attention to its members from low-income countries, and that low-income countries often need financial assistance in appropriately funded programs. In this capacity, the fund is also in a unique position to make a significant contribution. Now, the question is sort of, what does that mean? We have resources in the various facilities, but are you thinking about further gold sales, or how is the increased involvement on the funding side going to be made possible by contributions to concessional facilities, which might interfere with the World Bank's efforts to refund IDA? What are your views on that issue, and more generally on the fund's interaction with the bank and their joint responsibilities in the lower income countries?
Yes, thank you for addressing that issue, because I didn't dwell too much on it during my presentation. Well, first of all, I think that the most important contribution the fund can do to low-income countries is through technical assistance and helping them build institutions, helping them build an appropriate macroeconomic framework to basically conduct its economy and establishing the basis for having a solid economic growth. That would work as a catalyzer to induce more support from other development partners, being these advanced economies, being these other multilateral development institutions like the World Bank or the ADB or the Asian Development Bank, and so on. At different points in time, especially to bring their macro policy frameworks into line, and for them mostly to be able to deal with over-indebtedness at some point, or with very sharp commodity or external shocks, basically commodity prices, some type of financing from the fund is adequate. And yes, I think that, like for example, the different programs of poverty reduction and growth programs is an area where we need to continue working on them, because I think they play an important role of giving support, and at the same time they also provide the incentives from them to establish more solid policy making. And I think, yes, I think that it would be appropriate to use some of the windfall gains from the gold to finance those efforts. I think that would be a good use of resources. And it would help countries to move up the ladder, and many of them to graduate from the situation of dire need.
Can I ask one more quite specific question which relates to surveillance? When the global financial crisis and recession was getting started in 2008 and early 2009, the fund was out front, actually, fairly early on, recommending vigorous policy response, not only in the monetary area, which was pretty well underway, but also in the fiscal area in terms of countries pursuing fiscal expansion to combat the recession. Now, the question is, looking in hindsight at the specific situation of Spain, which is in your old constituency, was the fund, and I would include myself, I was in the fund at the time, it was my view at the time, were we perhaps a little bit premature in urging Spain to adopt a more expansionary fiscal policy in those circumstances in view of the developments that have subsequently come about. And more generally, does it enhance fund credibility occasionally, perhaps, to admit that it may have made a mistake in its policy advice?
Well, I mean, I have to say that I never bought the enthusiasm of the fund in pushing countries into very stimulative fiscal policies. Why? Because at the end of the day, whatever you borrow, you have to pay at some point. And we see that, I mean, first of all, you have to really assure or be sure that if you use stimulative fiscal policy, it will give you enough time to restart the economy and then be able to finance the process that will come of fiscal retrenchment eventually. I believe that there are very, very few occasions when you can do that. And as an example of what I believed, when I was Minister of Finance in 2009, Mexico was probably the only country in the G20 that did the fiscal reform. Instead of, we did a fiscal reform and increased revenues by over 1.5% of GDP, and we sailed through without an increase in debt to GDP ratio. Now we have full access to capital markets, and our economy is growing very fast. You know? So instead of criticizing Spain, I praise Mexico.
Very good. Demonstrate your diplomatic skill.
No, go ahead.
I think it's time for some questions from the floor. And remember that a question is a relatively brief statement followed by an interrogation point. So I think there's a microphone toward the back, yes. There's one person behind there already. And I think there may be a roving mic, I'm not sure. There is, okay, very good. So let me recognize the first person who is up at the microphone. Please state your name and affiliation and then ask your question.
My name is Millar Sagan with the Voice of America. Mr. Carstens, thank you so much for talking with us. I don't think anybody could possibly question your eligibility for a managing director. However, how would you differentiate your views from Ms. Lagarde, for example, on China, for example, China's role, its responsibility in the global market, and also on the IMF's current focus on the European debt crisis?
Well, I mean, let's start with Europe. I think in the case of Europe, what would help me is precisely to have a fresher pair of eyes. I have not been part of the process. The process of this crisis started not just a few months ago, but a few years ago. And I think also somebody coming from the outside can in a way speak off their mind more frankly. And I think that would be an advantage. I also, it would be an advantage from the point of view that the fund would not be perceived of working in a biased way in favor of Europe. And I'm sure that Ms. Lagarde will try to avoid this. I'm sure she will do for her best, and I'm sure that she will say that she's now working for the fund and not for the European Union. But still that question mark will be there, and she will have to demonstrate something that I probably would not have to demonstrate. Now, in terms of China, well, you know, I think that there is an advantage of coming from an emerging market economy. I think that even though each emerging market economy is different, we face some commonalities. No? I mean, mostly the trade-offs we face. No? I mean, I am sure. I mean, for example, that many would like to see some reforms in China done, but that might have some impact in terms of, for example, the amount of employment that is created, the very difficult trade-offs that any country faces. No? And I'm more familiar with those type of trade-offs. And the trade-offs are very different in advanced economies or in emerging market economies. The degree of tolerance for change is different. And if you don't have the political skill or you have not been there, the type of advice and understanding of the situation can be different. So I think that would help me tremendously in the case of China and other emerging market economies like India.
Let me take one more from back there, and then let's find somebody in the middle with time for your next after the lady at the mic.
Thank you. My name is Mi Xiong. I am with the 21st Century Business Herald, and this is a newspaper in China. So I noticed in your speech you have explained in details about how you want the fund to strengthen its civilians.
Can you turn the microphone so we can hear more?
I'm going to just put it down. Speak right into it. Put it down. Put it down that way.
Hello?
Yeah.
Yes.
My name is Mi Xiong. I'm with the 21st Century Business Herald, and this is a paper published in China. My question to you is that I noticed in your speech you gave quite detailed explanation about how you want the fund to strengthen its surveillance on developed countries, which I think can't be more timely a suggestion, given that this crisis originated in the developed countries. But we also know that to get you elected, you do have to get support from the developed countries as well. So my question would be, how, with such commitment on surveillance on developed countries, how do you expect you can get support from those countries during your campaign? I mean, do you expect them to support your idea, and do you expect developed countries to actually support your nomination? Thank you.
Well, at the end of the day, we should depart from the point of view that countries want to have effective surveillance, and that surveillance is useful for them. No, I mean it's much better. I mean it's like going to a doctor. You would like to go to see a doctor that tells you the truth of what is wrong with you, and not somebody who tells you what you want to hear. No? So at the end of the day, I think that there is maturity enough in the advanced economies to realize that strong, effective surveillance is useful. No? And my call would be to be respectful, to be objective, but to be clear and transparent. No? Because otherwise, that pillar of the fund, which is the preventive aspect, would not deliver what we want, which is less crisis. No? So I think it's time that surveillance is taken seriously, and in this case, if more surveillance should fall on advanced economies, the new managing director should pursue that road.